Look out. The 49ers are 500 again. They've clawed their way out of the hole that they were seemingly so deeply in just a couple weeks ago after that embarrassing loss to Arizona. But they're right back in the thick of that playoff race, and they are ready to make a run. This is what I wrote earlier this week. You see it right next to me there. A manageable schedule and improving efficiency. The 49ers might be trending toward a run. My point in that article was that there were a lot of suspect teams ahead on the schedule for the 49ers, and the Jacksonville Jaguars were definitely one of them. 49ers were way better than the Jaguars on paper, and they're way better than the Jaguars when it came to actually playing the game today. That was the 49ers' first franchise victory in Jacksonville. Remember, before the game on this show, we had talked about the fact that the only previous road win over the Jaguars had come way back in 2013, and it happened in London. So they get that monkey off of their backs, and now the 49ers can move forward toward a showdown against the Minnesota Vikings next Sunday. It will be a game between two top 10 DVOA teams. If you're a first-time watcher, first-time listener, however you're consuming this, that might surprise you. You'll be like, wait, what? The Vikings and the 49ers, they're both 5-5. Well, yes, but these are the two best 5-5 teams in football. And if we paid attention to the DVOA, to the advanced stats, to the game tape, before this, we knew that the 49ers were better than a 4-5 team, or I think better than a 5-5 team. And with the Vikings, you could probably say the same thing. It's just been a really funky NFL season. Teams that should be winning are losing games, and teams that should be losing are winning some games. Just today, you saw the 8-2 Titans fall at home to the Houston Texans, who were 1-8 entering that game. So maybe some revenge for the city of Houston. Because remember, the Tennessee Titans used to be the Houston Oilers. So Houston got abandoned by the Oilers, and today the former Oilers got beaten by Houston's newer team. Anyway, the point is that a lot of unusual stuff is happening around the league. I wanted to wait till the afternoon games are finished, but the Fighting Colt McCoys, the Arizona Cardinals, just won another divisional game on the road, really taking it to the Seahawks up there in the Pacific Northwest. So crazy stuff. 49ers, though, are right in the thick of things after beating the Jaguars 30-10. And this one was impressive because in such a weird year, all you ask for a good team to do is to dismantle the teams that it should dismantle. When you have so much funkiness going around, like the Texans beating the Titans today, right? Or like the Fighting Colt McCoys beating the Seattle Seahawks, and maybe it's not funky with the Seahawks. Maybe they just suck. But there are plenty of examples of funkiness going around the league. So holding serve and doing what you should do to bad teams is imperative. The 49ers were on a short week after an emotional Monday Night Football win against the Los Angeles Rams, who we know are at least a decent team. And the 49ers were playing at 10 a.m. on the East Coast. So short week, cross-country travel, early body clock start, all of the ingredients for having some trouble with an inferior team were there for the 49ers. But they just plowed through all of them. The 20-play drive opened that game, and the 49ers were dominant wire to wire. And that's how it should be if the 49ers are truly a playoff and a title contender this year. So all you can do is beat who is put in front of you. And today the 49ers beat who was put in front of them very badly. They routed the Jaguars. And let's go through 5 takeaways from this game. Number 1, the 49ers hog the football. They should change their name from the San Francisco 49ers to the San Francisco Ball Hogs. Because from, taken from the game against the Rams to this game against the Jaguars, especially the opening drives of those two games, they have just been merciless, methodical, clock-churning drives. And that is so key for a team that hangs its hat on complimentary football. We had an 18-play, 87-yard drive against the Rams on Monday night. And then 6 days later, the 49ers show up in Jacksonville and go a full 20 plays before kicking a field goal. I didn't agree with the field goal decision there at the end. In my opinion, if you face a 4th down right near the other team's goal line, there's not a lot of downside, right? If you don't get it, then Trevor Lawrence and an overmatched offense have to start with their backs up against their goal line, and it just gives your defense a chance to make a play. So I don't see a lot of downside. I saw a lot of upside. I saw a chance for the 49ers to break the Jaguars back right away. That being said, Kyle Shanahan had other ideas, which is totally fine. He disagreed with that. Shanahan himself badly wanted to go for that fourth down. He was really, really itching to go for it, but he didn't end up doing it. And one of the main reasons is the 49ers currently have the best red zone touchdown percentage that's ever been recorded in the NFL. They're at 77.7%. They entered the game at 79.1%. But the log online, at least the one I could find, only goes back 20 years. And it's been a very offensive 20 years, right? Defense has definitely not won over the past 20 years in football. The 49ers have the highest red zone touchdown percentage of any team in that log. And Kyle Shanahan knows this. And he knows that Jimmy Garoppolo missed that open touchdown pass to Jeff Wilson. They just weren't on the same page. The throw was inaccurate a couple downs before. And he knows the 49ers were oh so close to finishing a 20-play drive with a touchdown. And he knew that they could stay, right up top there with that percentage. They would have gone to 80% had they converted the touchdown. But something told Kyle Shanahan to kick the field goal because he didn't want to risk leaving that drive empty-handed. So he got the 3 points. I think it didn't matter in the larger picture. The 49ers were so much better than the Jaguars where it mattered in this game. We entered this game saying, hey, Jacksonville can run the football, and Jacksonville's good against the run. Well, the 49ers were able to run the football and the Jaguars effectively, even without Elijah Mitchell. It wasn't as much outside zone early on, but a lot of inside runs, under center runs, again, from Jimmy Garoppolo going to Jeff Wilson, and they used Deebo Samuel creatively to manufacture that run game. So they eliminated any potential upset with that. And then because the 49ers got so far ahead, Jacksonville had no chance to run on them. So Jaguars never had a chance to win this game. So that field goal probably didn't matter. That's why I still maintain that Kyle Shanahan should have gone for it, but he didn't. And his explanation was that he didn't want to give up momentum after such a long drive. But either way, the 49ers hog the football. That first drive took up almost the entire first quarter. It got to the point where Nick Bosa was literally getting antsy on the sidelines. Nick Bosa was talking about, this is frustrating me. I want to get in there. I want to rush the passer. So I wrote about Nick Bosa. I'll post the article here in a little bit. Compared it to like a bull at the rodeo, when the bull's in the chute at the rodeo, waiting for them to open the gate, they just charge out, be that bull in the china shop, wreak havoc out there. Well, it took a while for Nick Bosa and the rest of the 49ers pass rushers to get out there, but they finally did. And that brings me to point number 2. The 49ers defense can be what it needs to be when the offense controls football games. And the offense controlled this game against the Jaguars. The offense controlled the game against the Rams. Against the Rams, the 49ers were at one point 9 of 13 on third down, and that really sealed the game for them. And it was obviously a very impressive clip. Against Jacksonville, they weren't quite as efficient. I'm going to open up their third down tally right now. They were 6 of 12, but that's still really good. Anytime you could be 50% on third down, you're going to win a lot of football games. And they were good early in that game as well. If you notice, the 49ers dragged out the play clock to 0 at almost every snap, and that gave Jimmy Garoppolo a chance to run the hard count to draw the Jacksonville defense off sides. Well, he drew them off sides on that first drive to help get it to 20 plays. And the 49ers just in general were a much more disciplined team than the Jaguars. They weren't committing penalties. Jacksonville was. 49ers were churning drives. Trevor Lawrence's team wasn't. And that played right into the hands of the 49ers defense, which was opportunistic. Josh Norman now leads the league with 5 forced fumbles this season. So for everybody who'd wanted to run Josh Norman out of town because of one personal foul penalty, consider that he's bringing you some value by leading the league in forced fumbles. And today the 49ers finally jumped on that fumble. They also recovered a muff punt. So they're +2 in turnovers. Jimmy Garoppolo took care of the ball in the offensive end. Jeff Wilson, luckily for him, didn't lose the fumble that he committed early on. Jawan Jennings, who was great today situationally for the 49ers, fell on that fumble, got a Jacksonville player ejected, blocked his ass off. George Kittle blocked his ass off too. Anyway, the cumulative result of all those efforts built this ball control unit for the 49ers that really put their defense in position to succeed. 2 weeks ago, the 49ers defense was embarrassed against Arizona. And they weren't really good, at other times this season. You remember the 37 seconds against Green Bay that the 49ers lost the game in to Aaron Rodgers. There's been leaky yardage for the 49ers defense this year at some critical times, to the point where they ranked as an below average unit after that game against Arizona, and it definitely wasn't headed in the right direction. But the 49ers took that embarrassing performance to heart, and they were able to fix some things. I think that they're covering a lot better. That's thanks to the fact that both Jimmy Ward and Jaquaski Tart are back. Josh Norman made a play on the back end today. Emmanuel Mosley's covering really well. And let's be honest, Talanoa Hufanga is a spark plug in there. He made a couple more plays today. And the 49ers, even with Jaquaski Tart back, who's better in coverage downfield than Talanoa Hufanga, they're going to find ways for Hufanga to be in that lineup. In a lot of dime packages, they can bring an extra safety in. You need that added defensive back. Talanoa Hufanga is your guy. He's an energy guy. And the energy that he's brought over the past 2 weeks, I think, has been palpable to this 49ers defense as it's turned things around. But what has helped the 49ers reverse course most defensively is the fact that their offense is hogging the ball, controlling the game, keeping the defense rested. That allows the 49ers to play downhill. It's all connected. So that's why I put point number 2 here. The 49ers defense can indeed be what it needs to be when the offense controls football games. I want to see if my article is up yet before I go on to point number 3, so we could put Nick Bosa up there. We're not up yet. We'll be up here in a couple minutes. That was your little sneak preview on it. Nick Bosa is playing the best football of his career. And I guess I could just go to that point right now. Nick Bosa is better than ever. Sacks number 9 and number 10 of the season for Nick Bosa. His career high had been 9 in his rookie season, 2019. So Nick Bosa now has 10 sacks through only 10 games. It took him a full 16 to get to 9 back in 2019. He has been phenomenal, especially when you consider the fact that he's coming off an ACL tear that happened exactly 14 months ago. He's built different. And, I'll tell you what, we tracked Bosa's return, and there was optimism entering training camp that he indeed would be really good this year because he had been measuring out as quicker during all of his sprints and measured work than before his ACL tear. Nick Bosa, remember, also came to training camp visibly leaner than before. So he had, there was a little bit more muscle. He had cut some fat. He was looking good. But until you rush against 300-pound offensive tackles and you deal with chip blocks and you deal with choke holds, Nick Bosa is getting choked on, half of these pass rushes or more, and the officials aren't calling it. Until you deal with all of that and you still are able to consistently produce sacks, it's impossible to firmly and confidently project that a player is back from his ACL tear. It's a lot harder to do it in a game than it is to run fast during workouts with Joey Bosa in the offseason. But those workouts obviously worked because Nick came back ready to roll this season, and he is indeed better. I thought that some of the stuff that Nick Bosa talked about today was fascinating in his post-game press conference. He said that he was just rushing to beat the offensive lineman opposite him as a rookie. But this year, Nick is a veteran, and he's got that vet savvy now. He understands where he needs to push a little bit more, where quarterbacks are going to be, where those sack opportunities are going to materialize. And that's why you see him with 10 sacks and 7 games still left to play in the regular season. It's the monster season for Nick Bosa, and the 49ers really need a monster season from Nick Bosa because this defensive line and this defense as a whole simply isn't as good as it was back in 2017. Now, what's really interesting to me is that Arden Key has come along over the past 2 games. If you noticed Arden Key's sack today, it came from the defensive tackle position. And Arden Key is one of the lighter 49ers pass rushers, so he's definitely not a natural interior lineman. But this is a great example of what can happen if an offense sets its defense up for success, as the 49ers did today. Get a multi-score lead, put the opposing offense into a pass-only situation, and that means you can roll out the NASCAR package. That's what the 2007 New York Giants rolled out against the New England Patriots, who were undefeated at the time, and the Giants rolled to the Super Bowl upset. The NASCAR package basically means you take 4 defensive ends, line them up across the line, and obviously defensive ends are lighter, but it doesn't matter if they're lighter and less capable of defending against the run, against powerful guards and maulers on the inside, because the offense is not going to run, right? The offense is going to be passing the football when it's down big. So the 49ers could afford to put a lighter, more athletic Arden Key up against right guard. Arden Key just blew by him, logged the 49ers' first sack of the afternoon. That's 3 sacks in 3 games for Arden Key as the 49ers desperately search for a pass rushing complement to Nick Bosa. I'm not saying it's all going to come from Arden Key, but I think it can partly come from Arden Key. I think it could partly come from Charles Omenihu, who played a very good game for the 49ers last week. I think it could partly come from Samson Ebukam, who the 49ers are playing $6 million to this year. And maybe it could come a little bit from Jordan Willis, an ongoing project that the 49ers are working on at edge rusher. Either way, it's going to have to come from somebody to complement what Nick Bosa is giving the 49ers. But what Nick Bosa is giving the 49ers right now is substantial. And it's also key to note that Nick Bosa complemented the 49ers coverage on the back end for unlocking what he was doing as a pass rusher in this game. So that was impressive. It's a situation for the 49ers where Nick Bosa is going to be a driver of this defense moving forward. As soon as he arrived in 2019 via the NFL draft, he changed things for this defense. I mean, they already had DeForest Buckner in 2017 and 2018, and they were still bad as a defense. They still weren't great as a pass rushing unit. It was the addition of Bosa to that unit that tipped it over the top, right? Bosa and Ford, bookending edge rushers. So you have Bosa back better than ever now. And if you could add that other edge rusher to the other side, and maybe D Ford contributes something, I don't want to rule it out, but I don't want to count on it either. But whoever you can find to contribute opposite Bosa is the player who could tip the 49ers defense back into really consistent productivity. You have to combine the opportunism of the defense that we saw today with the dominance, the ball-hogging nature of the offense, and you have a great team effort. That's what we saw from the 49ers at Jacksonville. Point number 4, Jimmy Garoppolo has played 4 straight very good games. This is funny to me because there are people that are upset about this online. And they call themselves 49ers fans. I'm just a reporter covering the team, but I find it very, very curious that fans of the team would be upset that their starting quarterback is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in football over the past 4 weeks. Guys, when your starting quarterback is one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL for a month straight, that's a good sign for your football team, and you should be a little less salty about it. But Jimmy Garoppolo is playing lights out football right now when it comes to managing that 49ers offense and delivering the efficient throws on the money downs downfield. Again, 49ers 50% on third down. Yes, Jimmy Garoppolo did miss Jeff Wilson earlier. I thought he was a little bit too high and wide for Kyle Juszczyk on one of the 49ers' next drives. But guess what? He makes up for it just that he's getting smoked out of the shotgun with a beautiful throw to Brandon Ayuk in the back of the end zone. And the most, sustainable piece of what Jimmy Garoppolo is doing right now is that he's delivering to more than one receiver. Today, Deebo Samuel came into this game, 21 yards shy of the 1,000-yard receiving mark. 49ers wanted to get him over the 1,000-yard receiving mark, but they really weren't able to because he had to be more of a running back than a receiver in this game, and he did a great job. But, with that shift in the past, especially early in the season, that could have been very problematic for the 49ers, right? Because they didn't have a complementary target for Deebo Samuel, especially when George Kittle was hurt. But Brandon Ayuk has naturally come along for the 49ers now to where you can tell that it's a good thing that the 49ers didn't try to force feed him the ball when he was struggling, mainly because his practice habits weren't fully there. He was going through a little bit of that second-year slump. And I was here sitting on these YouTube videos telling you guys, calm down. Give Brandon Ayuk time. He'll be fine. It's not a doghouse situation. It's a second-year guy who, strained his hamstring in training camp, lost some reps, hadn't reacclimated, and needed to, just work through it like a pro. Kyle Shanahan sat him down, had a nice talking to with Brandon Ayuk a couple weeks ago, and finally those practice habits clicked. And the 49ers didn't try to do anything stupid like, manufacture, attempts behind the line of scrimmage, create opportunities for Brandon Ayuk to showcase his athleticism. No, you can lead here's the thing. You could teach a man, you give a man a fish and he's going to eat once, but you could teach a man to fish and he's going to eat for a lifetime. And that's what the 49ers did with Brandon Ayuk. They let him figure this out. and develop a natural rapport and natural confidence within the structure of the 49ers offense. And now Jimmy Garoppolo is looking to him in big spots, and he's also looking to Deebo Samuel in big spots, and he's also looking to George Kittle in big spots, as you can see from that fourth down that the 49ers converted from the 1 or the 2 yard line when Garoppolo dropped back, fired over for the touchdown to George Kittle. The 49ers now have a trio of dependable star power that Jimmy Garoppolo can throw to, and it's not force-fed production. So sometimes the quick and easy route, almost always actually, the quick and easy route is not the correct route. It's smart to take your time with stuff and let your roster develop. The 49ers are smart to take their time with Brandon Ayuk and let him integrate into the flow of this offense. And because you have multiple targets down the flow, Jimmy Garoppolo has played 4 straight very good games. Today, he had to manage a different kind of running game, right? He had Elijah Mitchell stretching the outside zone for the 49ers against the Rams. That's a different kind of speed than Jeff Wilson. Today, you saw the 49ers move back under center because Jeff Wilson is more comfortable running from an under center alignment than a shotgun alignment. And Garoppolo's a versatile quarterback, so he could do that for them too. And they ran a lot of inside zone early. The inside zone bunched Jacksonville's defense up, and that allowed Deebo Samuel to run some of the outside zone for the 49ers. So it was a diversified running attack that the 49ers were able to manufacture through their just their sheer talent offensively. You have guys like Wilson. You have guys like George Kittle blocking. You have guys like Deebo Samuel running. You have auxiliary pieces like Kyle Juszczyk blocking or Juwan Jennings pissing off the defense and blocking well downfield. You have all those guys on the field in a efficient running apparatus, and you have Jimmy Garoppolo doing a good job as the puppeteer, pulling all the puppet strings at the line of scrimmage. That is a talented offensive group. It's going to be in the top 3 or maybe even the top 2 of the DVOA offensive rankings when they come out on Tuesday. And it was masterfully played against the team that the 49ers should have beaten on Sunday. So enough hand-wringing about Jimmy Garoppolo. He's looking really good. And guess what? You get a Jimmy Garoppolo versus Kirk Cousins matchup in 49ers, Minnesota next week. Final point. The Jaguars weren't good, but Minnesota is. The Vikings just beat the Packers. They may only be 5-5, but so are the 49ers. I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a top 10 DVOA matchup. Both teams are already in the top 10. They might both be in the top 5 by the time the new rankings come out on Tuesday. So this is going to be intense at Levi Stadium next week. We could, only talk so much about a win against the Jaguars, which is why I'm not really focused on that. Jacksonville is a young team. They're developing, that's the nice way to put it. They're just not very good right now, though. The 49ers should have taken them to the woodshed, and they did. So now the 49ers have stabilized. They've recovered thanks to their, ball-hogging offensive play and opportunistic defensive play. It's a new season, right? They're 5-5, and now they're ready to enter this final 7-game stretch and earn a playoff spot. And that first huge test in this stretch is going to be Minnesota, who just beat the Packers. Minnesota is a balanced team. The 49ers are showing that they can be a balanced team as well. But it's going to take all phases of the game for the 49ers to keep this going. Yes, at the top of the show, I did mention that the schedule is easier for the 49ers than it is for a lot of NFL teams, maybe the third easiest in the league from here on out. But they already got one of those, we can call it a gimme now. They already got one of the gimmies out of the way, and now they have to keep it up against a much better Minnesota team. So I'm very excited for next week's game because it's late November now. This is when the games matter. And, we can really go back and say that this validates a lot of the talking points that were presented on this channel and my articles on Twitter throughout this season. It was wholly unproductive to freak out after individual games earlier this year for the 49ers. You have to look at this collectively. You have to look at this chapter by chapter in a larger novel. Never get too high after wins. Never get too low after losses. This is the National Football League. You have to keep it even-keeled. And the 49ers were going through a rough patch. They were going through a hell of a storm out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean just a couple weeks ago. But now they've stabilized. Now they're 5-5, and now they're ready to take on one of their bigger challenges of the season in the Minnesota Vikings. And because we didn't, wildly vacillate and want to fire everybody 2 weeks ago, we're in a lot better position to analyze what's going to happen next against the Vikings. So I'm going to take a couple questions, and then I'm going to go record the 49ers podcast. Here's the catch. Couple questions. Any questions? Yeah, this is a good one. Why didn't Trey Lance play more in the fourth quarter? I thought he should have played more in the fourth quarter. I thought Shanahan unnecessarily opened Jimmy Garoppolo up to some injuries or injury risk there. Fortunately, nothing happened. I thought that a couple more drives for Trey Lance could have worked in that game. Jacksonville wasn't coming back. It wasn't going to be a week one of Detroit. You could just tell from the vibe of that game. So I disagreed with that move from Kyle Shanahan. But the reason that Lance is not playing more in situational packages is because Jimmy Garoppolo is helming a historically good red zone offense. The 49ers, again, have scored a higher touchdown percentage in the red zone than any team on record. They're near 80%. Teams don't do that. Trey Lance's initial package play this year was supposed to come in the red zone. But because Garoppolo has been so good in the red zone, the 49ers aren't using Trey Lance in package situations. I think it's as simple as that. All right, you guys aren't asking many questions. Here, I feel like Jimmy G is going to stay one more season. Nobody knows for sure. This is something I try to hammer home a lot over the course of the offseason after the trade. When I predicted Trey Lance, when I said Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter, the one overarching theme was the 49ers love their option power. With option power comes possibility. The 49ers don't have to cross the Garoppolo bridge until they get to it. They can see where Trey Lance is this offseason. They can see how Jimmy Garoppolo finishes this season. And the beauty of the contract is they don't owe him any money next year. So hold on to your option power until the options aren't there. Right now, the 49ers have it. And hey, there is a non-zero chance that he's back in 2022. I don't think it's likely, but I also don't know how these next 7 games are going to go or how the playoffs are going to go. And I do know that Garoppolo has been one of the best quarterbacks in football over the course of the past month, which is great news for the 49ers as they gear up for a playoff run. All right, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at Lombardi himself. Read me on The Athletic. My Nick Bosa article is now up. So here, we could all do the honors and we could see it as I take off. Right there. Check it out. Nick Bosa is better than ever, and that's huge for the 49ers and their playoff push. Everybody take care. I'm off to record the podcast, so you should listen to that in a bit. Bye-bye now.